Welcome back to another episode of the Fanatic Brackets. I am Nick, your host. This is season number 1, episode number 8. Today, we have a special guest. Please welcome and joining me from the Coming Down the Aisle podcast. Please welcome J-Bone. J-Bone, how you doing, man?
Oh yeah, freak out, nobody freak out. Yeah.
What's up, dude?
I'm
What's
doing
going
well.
on?
I'm
Doing all
doing
right?
well. We've been talking about this for a while. I've been on your show twice already, and you've not been on our channel yet. So
Right, yeah.
glad we're able to get
Pleasure.
this on the way.
Yeah, man. You guys have been a big supporter. You know what? Everything raw down. And of course, I hope you feel like that way. We try to support you guys as well too.
Of course.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you too. Appreciate the support that you've been giving us,
Yeah.
vice versa, and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're able to come on. Finally, it's been a long time coming. Talk about this for a minute.
Yes. Yeah. We had some difficulties to get here.
Yeah. This is supposed to happen a while back, but finally glad to get this done. So
we're live, pal.
Yeah. So your topic that you brought to me today for this bracket was the best. We're going to determine who the best faction of all time. You gave me these 16 participants. Before we even get to the rules and everything, do you mind explaining why you decided to choose this topic? And you don't have to go into the participants, but if you want to, you can do that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, factions I feel like are in pro wrestling are like, your favorite teams. You might have, especially like different era teams. You might be a fan of the '86 Bears, and I might be dating myself a little bit, but or maybe the 2000s Patriots. So this is kind of like along those terms, and I wanted to. I think having that discussion is pretty fun, and maybe giving somebody a different perspective on certain factions. I wanted to include factions from across different promotions.
Yeah.
So as you can see, I got some from a little bit from AEW, WWE, WCW. You got even a little TNA action in there.
Yeah.
I just wanted to pepper it all across the board and try to see what is the greatest faction of all time. So
yeah, we will see once we get into the bracket. But yeah,
I want to preference this too, because this is to me a faction. A faction has to have at least 4 members. I think a lot of people think it's gonna have 3 members is a faction. No, it's like a 6-man or trios.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna get like a whole bunch of comments being like, "Where's the New Day?
Where's
like,
the New Day?"
3...
Right.
Yeah. Because I saw the Elite, and I'm like, I'm assuming you mean like Hangman as well as
right. Yeah, I included Hangman, or you could even include like Cody in that. So way back when. So yeah,
it's a great list. You gave me the list. I put it into a bracket. I randomized it. I didn't want to be biased. But before we even get into actually filling out the bracket, I'm going to explain the rules for those who have not listened to an episode of the Fanatic Brackets before. So typically, there's supposed to be 3 of us. Joel couldn't make it on today, but we usually have 3 people on. We go matchup by matchup. We usually each give who we think is the better participant between that topic, and whichever participant gets 2 or 3 votes in that matchup moves on to the next round all the way to the finals. But this case, we have 2 of us. So if there's ever a case now in this episode specifically where we each chose, you, J-Bone, and I, if we chose different participants in the same in a matchup, I'm going to be using AI to help us with the tiebreaker. And obviously, if we choose the same person, that person will move on to the next round.
Right.
But like I said, if there's ever in need of a tiebreaker, we have AI to help us.
Good old AI.
Yeah.
Not Allen Iverson.
Yeah. Yeah. You just see AI just pop up out of nowhere.
We talk about practice.
Yeah. But I'm talking about it's the AI, artificial intelligence helping us out to determine that. And this is not really a specific way of looking at it. You can look at it as any way as possible, whether it is accomplishments, impact towards the wrestling business, our personal favorite. There's no right or wrong way. It's our opinion and our opinion only.
Right.
So, enough said with that. Let's get right into the bracket. J-Bone, I usually start off with the guests first. In this case, the first matchup we have here in this bracket is the Blackpool Combat Club going up against the Ministry. J-Bone, who is the better faction in your opinion?
So this one, you may have, I could have some recency bias though, but I am going to go ahead and go with Blackpool Combat Club here. And the reason being, although the Ministry I feel like is a bit underrated in history, they didn't have that bit long of a run, and I don't think they used the Ministry very properly, especially Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Blackpool Combat Club, I feel like, has been they're a unit. I mean, they're fighting with each other. Of course, talking kayfabe here, and I mean, they're like they have each other's back no matter what. I feel like I just feel like there's just a better faction, and Brian Danielson, you can argue is, I guess it's kind of overused nowadays, but a generational talent.
Yeah.
He is. Probably, he's really cementing his status as a legendary wrestler. And then also, don't forget about John Moxley,
Yeah.
in there, Claudio, and then the young Wheeler Yuta, which is another thing that I like, is it's helping young talent get over as well too. Ministry didn't help. Maybe you could argue Edge helped Edge get over, but I think Edge was obviously Edge and Christian were on their way already, but I'm going to go Blackpool Combat Club for those reasons.
I think we might need to use AI for this because I got the Ministry already. I was thinking Blackpool Combat Club, and the reason why I didn't put them down was because I feel like, for me personally, I think they were just getting started in terms of becoming a legit faction.
Right.
Because for I would say the first couple of months, I think they were just finding themselves a little bit, and I think it was around the time where Regal left and they turned heel was when I feel like they were legitimized, and now they're being seen as a legit threat towards other factions in AEW.
Right.
So compared to the Ministry, where like I feel like back in the Attitude Era days, a lot of people were, they were involved in big storylines, like the whole Vince Steve Austin thing, the corporate Ministry, and then the whole swerve at the end when Vince was involved and all that stuff. I feel like, and especially like, 'cause I have friends who are, don't watch wrestling now, but they used to. They always bring up the Ministry stuff. So, I feel like that really helps a lot too, in terms of being legitimized, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my reasoning for choosing the Ministry. Now we got to turn to AI to see what. I didn't think it would do it so soon. I was like, okay, let me just wait.
Man.
But let me type it in. Let me see what they say. Send it in. Okay, now they prove to see they have a response. They said, "Oh, sure, I'll choose Blackpool Combat Club."
All right.
They have a reason. They said they have a strong focus on physical training and combat skills. True. They offer intense workouts, martial arts, and a supportive community of fighters. If you look at the challenge yourself, I think they were looking at actual school, but they chose Blackpool Combat Club. But let's just say they chose the Blackpool Combat Club.
Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with that.
That counts.
All right.
Now we get to go into the next round. Heart Foundation going up against Evolution.
Evolution is mystery.
Great theme song. If you're going theme song, you want to start off?
It'd be number one. It might be number one.
Yeah. J-Bone, who do you have? Who's the better faction between these two?
Man, so I definitely have to go Heart Foundation right here. And I'll probably mention this again. Yeah, I know Evolution were very, very dominant throughout their time. And definitely one of my favorites. When I saw this bracket come on, I'm like, ooh. Yeah. So this is definitely hard. But if you think about it in the world of kayfabe and with factions, especially we kind of step outside of kayfabe a little bit, people are, well, when is this faction going to break up? Heart Foundation never really technically broke up.
Yeah.
The Montreal Screwjob is what Brett leaving, WWE, WWF is what caused the Heart Foundation to break up. So they're still technically a faction to this day, right?
I think it's like David Hart Smith Jr. is still running it, I think.
Yeah. They have a history, their lineage just bringing it down, a little bit at least. So, but man, they were just so dominant. And that 97 run for Brett and for everybody involved, to me, is just very memorable. It's what really sank my teeth into the Monday Night Wars and everything about that. So that's why I'm going Heart Foundation.
I'm gonna go with Heart Foundation too. I feel like the Heart Foundation has had like you can even talk about their individuals, like Jim Neidhart, Bret Hart, Owen Hart. They each have like the huge impact on the wrestling business till this day. So
Right.
you can even talk about there's David Hart Smith Jr., Natalia still going at it. Tyson Kidd had a great run. So they had a lot of history in terms of wrestling from the start till now. So again, like a lot of people look up to the Hart Foundation. FTR, for example, they are great like supporters of FTR, Hart Foundation. I love the concept of evolution though, because evolution, the whole point of it was like the past, present,
Right.
future stuff,
Yep.
which was cool. But like you said, I was gonna bring that up too. The Hart Foundation, continued on for as long, even to this day. So, with evolution, you can't really say that much. Like, yeah, people look up to Randy Orton, Ric Flair, Triple H, Batista, but the Hart Foundation has the history, so you
Yeah,
can't really go up against history like that.
and Evolution made 2 gigantic stars, and so
Yeah.
that's actually kind of rare for that, where every member is just unbelievable, like just legendary stars. Batista, I know at some point, when he's ready, he'll go in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, Randy Orton will be Hall of Fame. I mean,
Yeah.
you could put this whole faction into the Hall of Fame, good, similar to what they do nowadays. Which would be crazy because Ric Flair would be a 3rd-time Hall of Famer.
Yeah, really. Yeah,
But you could do it. It could happen. So
yeah, that would be insane. But yeah, you could really make a strong case for Evolution being the winner here. But I had to go with the Hart Foundation. Like I said, the history is what really got me with this. So I can't argue with that. So I had to go with the Hart Foundation. They move on to the next round. Now, next matchup, we got the Nation of Domination going up against the Undisputed Era from NXT. J-Bone, who do you have? Who's the better faction?
Oh man! So another good faction from '97, Nation of Domination, of course, helped birth The Rock, a little known guy named Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
I don't know if y'all know him, but
if you ever heard of his name. But then you've got, of course, Undisputed Era, who were dominant in NXT during their run. What was it, 2016
to 18, I would say.
Yeah, 18. Yeah. I mean, held all the title, held all the gold. I am going to go with Undisputed Era for that reason. Because I really do think it helped elevate Adam Cole in the eyes of the casual fans, especially like me. Like, even though I would consider myself a diehard, especially then, I'm a lot more of a diehard than I was then, during that time. I was only watching WWE, but, really, okay. Then I was like, I got my eyes on Adam Cole. Obviously, Adam Cole about to have his big match with MJF coming up. But I think this kind of helped prepare Adam Cole for that, and then it really elevated the other guys. And not only did it do that, but it helped elevate NXT as a whole. You could put that era, no pun intended, Undisputed Era, up against the original NXT class, which was phenomenal. Those 2 time frames, I think, are very memorable in the eyes of fans. So, and Nation of Domination were great. They just they could have done a lot more, I think, with Nation of Domination. I mean, really, the only thing that they held, was Rocky held the Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
No tag titles. No, never really in the world title hunt, which they could have been. Farouk, definitely could have been. Just never got to that point. I mean, and there's a lot of competition during then too. So I don't know, but I am going to go with Undisputed Era, even though I look very fondly of the Nation of Domination.
Yeah, well, I'm going to agree with you on that. I mean, I also go with Undisputed Era because I think that for me, because I agree with your point of putting it put Adam Cole and the rest of them on the map for me. Because I didn't hear about them until they signed with WWE. I wasn't a big, Ring of Honor or any other company outside of WWE at that time. So when I heard of them, it made me realize like, oh, maybe I should go study these guys and understand why these men are so important to the wrestling business and why they have history with each other. Because they didn't just pair these three, now four, together just for no reason. Obviously, they had the history of Ring of Honor, so there had to have been a reason. And I agree with you of how they changed NXT. I think they were the face of NXT, the faces of NXT for the longest time. I think since Undisputed Era was even born.
Right.
They had a lot of great moments, especially in War Games. The Roderick Strong heel turn.
Another good point. Yep.
And then Adam Cole winning the North American Championship for the first time, and his NXT World Championship reign. That whole run was just amazing. I love Nation of Domination. It was a tough one for me because I'm like, I could choose them. They had a whole squad, if you think about it, with like Farouk, The Rock, Savio Vega, Mark Henry, D'Lo Brown. I forgot the Godfather's name at that time, but they had a lot of great names added to that group. So you can make the case saying, "Hey, Nation of Domination was a squad." Adam, Undisputed Era was just four guys, and then like, yeah, their singles runs after were like, it was iffy. You could have done it better, but Nation of Domination had a better. They each went on to do great things afterwards, but. Undisputed Era, they're my favorites of NXT. I couldn't not choose them, have them go on to the next round. So yeah, I would agree with you what you said before for your reasoning. So for that, I have to choose Undisputed Era, and they are moving on to the next round. Now the next matchup, we have the Elite taking on the Judgment Day. J-Bone, who is the better faction in your opinion?
So obviously, Judgment Day is going to consist of Dom, current version, Dom, Damian Priest, Finn. So, not sure what's going to happen here soon. If somebody leaves the group, that's what version we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And then the Elite, you could go, a couple different ways with this. I mean, I'm primarily looking at since we're looking at current day Judgment Day, I'll go ahead with current day Elite, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Page. Obviously Kenny Omega is, it's a very decorated group with the Elite. So if you're looking at it from that kayfabe, I trying to look at more of kayfabe perspective here. And look, the Judgment Day are probably one of the hottest acts in wrestling. I would argue probably the Elite probably feel a little stale right now. But if you're looking at a kayfabe perspective right now, you have Kenny, who's multi-time in New Japan Pro Wrestling champion, AEW champion, Impact champion. You got the Young Bucks, multi-time tag champs. Of course, Hangman, AEW champion himself. Held many titles in Ring of Honor. I am going to go with the Elite, right, with this one, and maybe this kind of will draw some interest. I'll pose a question and you can answer after you give your answer. But Judgment Day and Elite right now, who do you feel is the hotter act?
Ooh.
The better act?
So I think. So I'll answer that now, but it's not my pick anyways. But I'll say as of right now to this day, the Judgment Day is the better act. They're doing a lot right now. With the whole storyline of Finn and Damian Priest, and then JD McDonough in it, and then Dominic being booed out the building with the NXT North American Championship, and Rhea by herself. Her title reign isn't the greatest right now, but I think she's adding a great mix to the faction.
Right.
But if we would have to choose between the Elite and the Judgment Day, like who's the better faction overall, I'm gonna have to go with the Elite too. Because without them, technically there is no AEW. Right. I know you listed off a lot of great accomplishments between the two. The Young Bucks, one of the greatest tag teams of our time. Kenny Omega, one of the greatest male wrestlers of our time. So you could really argue between the two, and you look at Finn Balor, the one who founded Bullet Club, which we'll talk about later. But there's so many cases, but it's still fresh and new. To where you have Dominic, who's just up and coming star, who just really started 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. So it's you're really outnumbering them. If you include Hangman Adam Page, a former AEW World Champion, and a resume of his own, but the Elite has the history. That's the only reason why I give it to the Elite. And again, you mentioned it before. It's we don't know what's going on with the Judgment Day right now. Are they going to split up? Are we going to see new members? Is JD McDonough going to join? Is someone leaving? We don't know that right now. So that's kind of like, up in the air. If you were asked me like maybe in a year from now, depending on how the Judgment Day is, maybe my answer would be different. But I'm gonna have to stick with the Elite right now. Again, if there wasn't for the Elite and obviously Tony Khan, but there wouldn't be any AEW right now. You wouldn't see these matches happening with, happening at All In with Hangman, the Golden Lovers, to the Golden Elite taking on, Bullet Club Gold and Takeshita. We wouldn't see all these these dream matches that we want to see and all that stuff. So, wrestling aside, the Elite has done a lot more than just in-ring stuff. They've done a lot, for the wrestling community as a whole. So I'm going to give it to the Elite there.
Yeah, and it's amazing where the Judgment Days come from, because if anybody watches Raw Down knows that I've poo-pooed Judgment Day for the longest time. But really, whenever Dom joined is really when everything kind of started taking off, in the positive direction for him.
Yeah.
That interaction between Dom and Rhea has really, really opened things up for him a lot. So sky's the limit. We'll see what happens with Judgment Day. Right now, I think they're definitely haven't hit their glass ceiling yet, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see with that, definitely, for sure. But who do you think is the hottest act right now?
I do think Judgment Day is the hottest act. I agree with you. Okay. I actually feel like the Elite's very, very stale right now. I do think they need to kind of not break up, but like go their separate ways. Let the Young Bucks wrestle in the tag division. Let Kenny be main event Kenny. Let Hangman go be a peg warmer. I'm just kidding. No. But I mean, let's get a Hangman Punk situation going or something. If Punk and man, and it's not a substitute for the situation. But hey, if we can at least get Punk and a Hangman again, I'll be down for it.
Oh, for sure, me too. And if that's if we get that match, I'll be like, that's a whole other story. But I hope to see that match too. So the Elite are moving on to the next round. Now, next matchup. The Bloodline taking on the Bullet Club.
This is a difficult one right here.
I know. I want to start off with you, J-Bone, as always. Bloodline or Bullet Club? Who is the better faction?
Man. Bullet Club is definitely up there, like as far as historic factions. I mean, especially like their t-shirts. You think about their t-shirts. There's a couple different factions we have on the list right here: DX, NWO, Bullet Club. Like those t-shirt sales are just unbelievable. Like, where you of course you have spoofs off of that, just like you do with the NWO and things like that. And there have been a lot of different members. Between AJ and Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, and Young Bucks, and now we got, the current iteration of them, which is this is not based off of this, but the current iteration, which is building back up, and I guess you could argue, Bullet Club Gold. Right now, it's kind of getting a little discombobulated a little bit with the Bullet Club system, but honestly, I feel like you can't argue against the Bloodline at this time. And even though Bullet Club has got the history and is very well suited in the faction world, the Bloodline, I mean, we talk about Roman Reigns, obviously his historic run. You got the Usos that are part of it now with Solo, Sami Zayn. They're firing on all cylinders, and then I do like I love also when you have a faction that also has a manager tied with them. Yeah, it's also that's kind of my little. It was a little bit over the top for me and why I decided Bloodline. But if you would ask me, it was like 51-49, honestly, Bloodline. So I'm gonna go Bloodline.
Okay, because I actually have the Bullet Club.
Oh,
because
Bullet Club.
Because I do agree with you with the merch that they have. Because for a while, all you saw in wrestling shows, no matter where you were Bullet Club shirts. And the way I see it too is that Bullet Club kind of had the same. I don't want to say very similar, but like they were kind of like the Bloodline at one point for New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were like the most talked about faction in New Japan for years. And with all the leaders they had from, you said Kenny, Finn Balor, or Prince Devitt, Jay White, AJ Styles, the leaders that they have now, and it's like, they're still expanding. They're for a while since Jay White left and like left Japan, went to AEW. Yeah, many people may not know who's the leader or anybody involved right now, but it's like I think they were just a major focal point in wrestling for a while. Without Bullet Club, you wouldn't see a lot of big names right now. The OC technically never left. They never got kicked out of Bullet Club, so they're kind of part of it. If you think about it, they're expanding from all companies. They're in New Japan. They have AEW stars. They have Impact stars. They have even WWE guys, if you include Carl Anderson and Gallows. So I have to go with the Bullet Club. And I just felt like they were. The way I see it, like I said, is they were the Bloodline at one point for New Japan.
It's close. Like I said, it's really close for me. So.
Now I got to see what AI says.
Oh, brother.
Okay, let me send it. All right, just to see what it says, proof that I sent it in. They said, "All right, I'll choose Bullet Club." Bullet Club. Their explanation is they have been a game changer in the wrestling world, leaving a lasting impact on the industry. The Bullet Club, known for their rebellious and anti-establishment attitude, has attracted a massive following of their edgy personas and thrilling in-ring performances. Led by iconic wrestlers like AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and Kenny Omega, the Bullet Club has consistently delivered high-quality matches and captivating storylines. They have a reputation for their own innovative wrestling style, impressive in-ring chemistry, and their ability to push boundaries. The Bullet Club's influence can be seen in various promotions around the world, making them a force to be reckoned with. If you're looking for a faction that embodies rebellion, talent, and touch of controversy, the Bullet Club is the one to watch.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of scary.
They kind of said what I said with the whole various promotions. I was kind of scared that they said that. I'm like, wow, exactly what I said.
Yeah.
But yeah, they said it exactly the way I thought of it. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
AI knows their wrestling, I guess.
It's scary. It's really scary.
Yeah. Now we can go to the next matchup. Dangerous Alliance taking on the Inner Circle. J-Bone, in your opinion, who's the better faction in this case?
So, Dangerous Alliance, in it was the early '90s WCW faction. If anybody's not aware of them, look them up because some could argue it's the original Bloodline because you have Paul Heyman as their manager and Medusa as well. And of course it was Steve Austin, Rick Rude, Ravishing Rick Rude, Arn Anderson, Beautiful Bobby, and Larry Zbyszko. They were kind of the answer to the Four Horsemen breaking up after Ric Flair leaves for WWF. I have a very soft spot for the Dangerous Alliance, and the Inner Circle was great. The first faction, I guess you could say, and formed in AEW. I am going to go with Dangerous Alliance with this one. With it helped build Steve Austin, stunning Steve Austin, and which got him obviously to the point that, further down the road, obviously Stone Cold Steve Austin and he is one of my favorites, of course, of all time. So it's a little bias in there, but I love the way they were built, and going up against Sting at the time, Sting Squadron or Sting just in general.
Yeah.
They were hard to beat, and it was a good substitute, very good substitute. Again, like I said, after the Four Horsemen left, were disbanded because of Ric Flair not being in there. This was another tough one, but I am gonna go Dangerous Alliance.
I think I'm gonna agree with you on that. I'm gonna go with Dangerous Alliance too. I wasn't too familiar when you added this to the list because I not really familiar with them, so I had to look them up and do research on them. They were around for a while.
Yeah.
And they were also around not just one promotion, but multiple promotions. because they were also around in ECW and AWA.
That's true. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So they had, like stuff like Sabu, a few other names I forgot, but they did have Steve Austin, like you said. Just the people in it and the how long they've been around. I thought it was just like Arn Anderson and his crew, but then when I looked into it, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of great names that were added on. Zabrisco, I think, was in it too. If I said his Larry, I don't know, I think I said his last name wrong, but
Larry Zabrisco,
yeah. He was in it, and I'm like, wow, Sabu was in it at one point. A lot of these names, and it's like all managed by Paul Heyman, and I think it was named Paul Lee something. So
Paulie Dangerously.
Yeah, Paulie Dangerously. Yeah, that's what I saw. I'm like, wow, but they seemed legit. So I was like, the Inner Circle. I love the Inner Circle. They were a big part of the early days, especially the early days of the pandemic in AEW. With the whole Anarchy in the Arena stuff and everything that they've done for the company. I give them props, but Dangerous Alliance, I think, had I guess the longevity of it because they've been around for 8 years. So that's why I'm giving them the slight edge on this part. So I had to give it to Dangerous Alliance. I love the Inner Circle. I love Chris Jericho. It made every single faction, a name. So it was like Dangerous Alliance is it. They had to get swept here. So now this is the next one that I'm kind of having tough choosing. NWO taking on the Four Horsemen.
New World Order. Yeah. I love the Four Horsemen. The probably the first faction ever created. At least the first popular faction. If anything. I'm trying to think if there was anything before that. I can't really think if there's anything. Of course, you have many iterations of both. I'm going to kind of stick with. I guess I probably would go with Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Barry Windham. But hang on.
Whoa.
As far as I'm comparing the two, but you have the New World Order who changed the game without a doubt. And as much as I love the Four Horsemen and I love putting the four fingers up, I am going to go with the New World Order. They were just unstoppable. I guess I'm going to go with technically. You have to throw. I guess we'll have to throw a 6-Pac in there or the Giant.
Oh, there goes too sweet.
They're too sweet. Too sweet.
Yeah. Too sweet.
But there's many different ways. Of course, you could go with them. Go Hogan, Hall, Nash, 6-Pac, the Giant.
Yeah,
I like how $1 Million Man was with them, or excuse me, Ted DiBiase was $1 Million Man, but Ted DiBiase was with them in that first go around. You got the Wolfpack, which probably could have been a whole separate entity there, which I don't think get enough love. I think a lot of people are like, oh, the Wolfpack, we're just what are we doing with the Wolfpack? Love the Wolfpack, okay? Give me some Wolfpack, but I am going to go with NWO right here.
So I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. So I'm going to go with NWO because I feel like in comparison to the Bullet Club, they kind of had a similar situation to where the sales, and T-shirts, also with, I think Bullet Club kind of bounced off of NWO. So I don't want to say it's the same thing, but it's very similar in terms of how they presented themselves. But Bullet Club obviously lasted much longer. So I feel like without NWO, Bullet Club wouldn't be a thing. I think a lot of factions wouldn't be a thing to this day. As great as each member of the Four Horsemen were, I think they all had great individual careers. Each were Hall of Famers in their own rights as well. It was just NWO in terms of faction-wise, not individual performances. NWO had the bigger impact. We had the Four Horsewomen of WWE today with the four horsewomen. Even though Mercedes Moné is not part of WWE, they were still had that impact. But they're not really a faction, so they're just a group of friends, I guess. So that's a different situation if you're talking about that. So, I had to choose NWO because it had the bigger impact in faction-wise, because that's what the topic is. So I had to stick with that regime, I guess. I stuck with the NWO.
I just bought so every couple of years I have to refresh my NWO shirt. I just bought a new one. I just bought a new one last week, actually. So.
I'm actually wearing an LWO shirt. So
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I couldn't wear this and not choose NWO. It's very similar. But yeah, NWO is just up there in factions list, in my opinion.
New World Order.
Exactly. And even the theme song, if you think about it, the Book Club and the NWO
yeah.
The intro.
Bullet Club.
Yeah, exactly. So it's I don't want to see a ripoff of the NWO, but they kind of inspired them, I guess.
Definitely inspired them. Yeah. I mean, that's the Too Sweet got reinvigorated with him around.
Yeah. So next and final matchup of the first round, we got Main Event Mafia going up against D-Generation X.
Yep.
J-Bone with the better faction.
This is the easiest out of the first round for me. And I threw Main Event Mafia in there just to have some TNA flavor, but I am going to go with DX. I mean, and you could go obviously a couple different iterations with the one with the New Age Outlaws, X-Pac and Triple H in China, or you could go Ravishing Rick, Shawn, Triple H in China. That either one. But I think both of those, they just much like what NWO did with their T-shirt sales, and just they were the answer to the NWO on TV, at least, part of the Monday Night Rollers. So ain't nobody really buy Main Event Mafia shirts these days.
Yeah. Really.
And look, I mean, if you're looking from a kayfabe perspective, it could be hard to beat, but I still think, just if you look at what DX has done for the wrestling industry as a whole, I'm going to go DX.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you got to also look out, like you said, the T-shirt stuff and the whole glow stick and the inspiration of the chops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Suck it chop. You hear that a lot from wrestling fans. Like, I guarantee you, if you ask a wrestling fan, they'd be like, "Oh, I used to do DX chop all the time."
Oh yeah, I got in trouble for it too.
Yeah. I think everyone has at some point, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I feel like you're not a real wrestling fan if you got in trouble. We didn't get in trouble for that, but there's a lot of inspiration from that. The Main Event Mafia, in my opinion, this is my opinion. I think Aces of Eights were a better faction in Impact.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe I should have thrown them on there, but I really wasn't watching them. I wasn't watching it then, so I can't really couldn't really specify exactly. But yeah, no, that's a good point.
But like DX really did a lot, you know what I mean? Again, bouncing back to what I said in the first round, where I think a lot of non-wrestling fans to this day will remember DX, and not really, too familiar with the Main Event Mafia. Although they had a stacked, if you look at it, they had Sting, Kurt Angle, Booker T, Kevin Nash. That was a squad back then of veterans.
Yes, saw Sting as a heel. Yeah, that's something I would never thought we would be having the Sting as a heel. So it's kind of cool.
Exactly. Now we're getting into the second round of this bracket.
Gritty time.
We got the Blackpool Combat Club taking on the Hart Foundation. Who is the better faction, J-Bone, between the two?
I just want to say too, before we get started, the second round is looking mighty diverse too. So I'm digging that. I'm gonna have to go Hart Foundation for this again. Again, kind of echoing what I said before. Just they're still around. I think if we're looking at it from what we saw, Blackpool Combat Club kind of hopped on in to second round. So I think Hart Foundation is, you got Bret Hart, you got Owen Hart, you got Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman, I think, is very underrated in the history of wrestling.
Yeah.
British Bulldog too, which quick plug coming up this next weekend. We're gonna be dropping top 10 British Bulldog matches of all time because we think Bulldog is great. So me and the Ultimate Miles, but I think I love the Hart Foundation, and 97 Wrestling again has got a soft spot for my heart. So Hart Foundation it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. It seems like we're not using AI that much, but
it's good.
We don't know yet. But I'm gonna agree with you in the Hart Foundation. Echoing what I said, that's a long-lasting legacy in wrestling. Especially for those in Canada. A lot of people probably got into wrestling because of the Hart Foundation. As great as the Blackpool Combat Club is, again, for me, they're just getting started with, their heel run, and that's what's really captivating me towards that group. And that's what, like, not even a year since they turned heel. So again, this is something I think I said this for a different matchup. In a year from now, we'll probably have a different opinion on this. Maybe
Right.
Blackpool Combat. Because if you think about it, Mox won the AEW World Championship twice. Claudio won the Ring of Honor World title twice. Yuta won the Pure Championship twice. Amazing record so far in terms of resume. But again, it's too soon to tell what impact they're going to have in wrestling in 10 years from now compared to Hard Foundation, what they've left, into wrestling today.
At one point, you had Owen was Intercontinental Champion, Davey was European Champion, and then I think I'm trying to remember exactly. I think it was before it was the faction form. They were also tag champions, but I don't think it was until a little bit, until they were actually formed in the action. And of course, Brett was the world champion.
Yeah.
You
it kind
can't
of felt
argue
like
that was
Bloodline at one point, right? It was
yeah,
like they all had titles
very
there.
much, yeah. So
yeah, they all had. It's too soon for me to tell with the Blackpool Combat Club, so I'm sticking with the Hart Foundation. Now, next matchup: Undisputed Era or the Elite. This is a tough one for me.
It is tough. It was very tough.
Two very close ones. Two recent times.
I'm sitting here thinking, even though the Elite is a little stale right now, but if you're looking greatest factions of all time, I'm gonna not let that recent bias happen right now. They look at the entire resume of the Elite. For putting them, which you could argue. Well, no, actually, no, he wasn't part of it. I'm thinking Adam Cole. Yeah, no, Adam Cole was technically a part of the Elite at one point.
Yeah,
in AEW portion at least. And so were Red Dragon or Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. But I am going to go with the Elite. Here, it's tough. I mean, I do think, especially that if you think about that 2000 or 2020 Elite, and Kenny was champion, they were driving the show for sure. And just like how Undisputed Era was driving the show, Undisputed Era, I think if they would have brought that act to WWE, the main roster, they would have had some money there, and they could potentially be a little bit great. I think unfortunately because they ended a little too soon, potentially that the Elite's going to win this one.
This was a tough one for me because I was gonna say the Elite, but I'm gonna say Undisputed Era.
Oh baby!
Because again, without Undisputed Era, NXT wouldn't be NXT, specifically the Black and Gold era of it. No pun intended on that. But and also I was thinking about it. I'm like, I understand Bobby Fish isn't really there anymore. O'Reilly's hurt. We have Roderick Strong. We don't know. He's in the middle of the MJF storyline. But like, we don't know if they're going to continue or not. We don't know that situation yet. So the Undisputed Elite was great. Kind of wish Roderick Strong would have been there. But again, I was a huge fan of the Undisputed Era. Without the Undisputed Era, I wouldn't be a fan of NXT. I wouldn't have been drawn into it. And again, I know I said for the first round, without the Elite, there wouldn't be any AEW. But I think AEW would have been fine anyways. If there was no Elite.
Right.
Because Tony Khan knows what he's doing in that company. But Undisputed Era was NXT. So that made a major impact on that company. So that's why I had to choose the Elite. Now, let's turn to AI. We got to do that now. So let me type it in. Okay. Ooh, gave a long description.
No bad.
Right, so they said they would choose the Elite.
The Elite.
Their explanation, they said the Elite, consisting of the wrestlers like Kenny Omega, Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, they have taken the wrestling world by storm. It's pretty true. They have revolutionized the industry with their innovative storytelling, high-flying in-ring style, and their ability to connect with fans on a global scale. The Elite's influence extends beyond the ring as they successfully ventured into other aspects of the business, such as creating their own promotion, AEW. The dedication, their dedication to pushing boundaries and creating memorable moments has garnered them a massive following and has reshaped the wrestling landscape. With their unique blend of athleticism, charisma, and entrepreneurial spirit, the Elite has proven that they are a force to be reckoned with. If you're looking for a faction that embodies innovation, passion, and the commitment to changing the game, the Elite is the one to watch.
What a great lexicon AI
Yeah, I
has.
think yeah. Great wording of everything. Wow. So they really know their wrestling. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We're feeding
yeah.
them this information.
Exactly. It's like it explained it better than I did. But yeah, the Elite will be moving on there. Not mad at it too. I mean, I love the Elite, so I just had to give the edge to the Undisputed Era.
I think a lot of people are just kind of down on the Elite, especially with this whole Punk thing. So
yeah, I agree with that.
I'm there too. I'm gonna continue every show, especially on my own that I talk to. Tony, give us Punk and Omega.
Exactly.
Do it.
They have to at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they can't just skip over that.
Right? You can't do it. Huge injustice.
Yeah. Now next matchup, we got the Bullet Club and the Dangerous Alliance.
Bullet Club.
Who do you have, J-Bone?
And so I am.
Is that your answer, the Bullet Club, or?
well, yeah, actually, yeah, it will be that'll be my answer, Bullet Club. I think I just love to say Bullet Club. But if you look at again the differences between two, even though I love Dangerous Alliance, kind of my guilty pleasure of pro wrestling. In fact, if you ever want to watch a good Dangerous Alliance match, make sure you go check out Wrestle War 92, Dangerous Alliance versus Sting Squadron. But Bullet Club definitely, without a doubt, if you look at it between these two, have done a lot more for the wrestling world. So I am gonna go with Bullet Club here.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that one. I'm also going Bullet Club because bouncing off what I said last round, it's still going on today. Maybe if like they split up at some point, there is no Bullet Club. Maybe different story. But it's still going on strong. I mean, for a while, Joel and I talk about this all the time. We're like, there was a point where Jay White was a leader, but like towards the end of his run before he left New Japan, that's where it started to pick up again. Mm-hmm. So then after that, again, many people may not know who the leader is now. I think it's Clark Connors or something.
David Finlay, I think it's David Finlay.
David Finlay, yes. I see Clark Connors everywhere, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's a part of it too.
Yeah, but that's all I see from Bullet Club. So I'm like, okay, but true, but it's like Bullet Club's always been a staple in modern wrestling. Especially in Japan. Without Bullet Club, it wouldn't be like, I wouldn't say not only them, but like they were a big part of that whole, from 2012 to now. Their storylines, they're like, every time someone joins, it'll be like a whole shocker. Every time someone got kicked out, it'll be like, oh shoot, this person left. When Adam Cole left when he signed with NXT, it was like, oh shit. And then Marty Scurll is now part of it. Adam Cole was kicked out. That whole concept is just amazing to me. So like, I had to choose Bullet Club. And again, bouncing off what I said in the first round, also why I had to choose it. I love Dangerous Alliance, but again, I'm not too familiar with them. I had to do a lot of research. So I can't really make a case for them.
No, they definitely can't. I mean, to be honest with you, as much as like I said, I love them, but even, then this may segue, but I think they're still the number two. Well, maybe number three best faction in WCW. So, yeah. So anyway, the good group, love them, but sorry, guys.
Yeah. Next round we got NWO D-Generation X.
This is saying, hey, let's get 2004 Patriots versus the 86 Bears, or 96 Bulls versus the Golden State Warriors. I mean, this is big time right here, big time. Yeah.
Who is a better faction to you, J-Bone?
So this is the one I was watching. But I kind of figured this was going to be how this was going to play out a little bit. So I already kind of had my mind made up. And I am going to go with the New World Order with this one. I think, so there's a lot, of course, argument there that New World Order, of course, got watered down. But you could argue that with DX as well, too. we wouldn't have DX if we went for the New World Order, and that's really ultimately my decision right there. You got Hogan, Hall, Nash, X-Pac or Six-Pac. You got the Giant, which then spawned into, of course, to mid card, which spawned into Hollywood NWO versus Wolfpack NWO. I just DX really didn't have that long of a run. If you sit there and think they start mid '97, and by was it like WrestleMania 15, 99, they're done basically, So I am going to go NWO, and and also if you look at a business perspective and what they bring, what kind of merch they bring in. I mean, like I said, I'm still buying shirts now to this day. I think a lot of people are. I think it's probably the most copied, spoofed logo out there besides Bullet Club. Almost any other wrestling podcast, including me, have
we have it too. We have it too, honestly.
Spoofed it at some point. So that's what I'm going to go with, NWO.
So although I'm wearing an LWO shirt, and I know I said that we have our own like spin-off logo for the Ring Fanatics, I am going to go with D-Generation X.
Oh, baby.
The reason I say them is because I kind of feel like that's what I'm more accustomed to watching.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't watching a lot of NWO. I was watching a lot of DX stuff. So their segments are always amazing. They're always entertaining, always hilarious. Again, although you could walk up to a wrestling fan, throw up the too sweet sign, someone will do it right back to you. But you do have the inspiration of the chops. Again, if you're a wrestling fan today or not, you're always, everyone to say they've done trouble because of the DX chop. So I think that's the most global and well-known faction for those who at least say they've watched wrestling growing up. So I think they've left somewhat of an impact, in my opinion, more than NWO. People can say it the other way around, and I get it. But I was more accustomed to watching DX. Now we got to use AI again. So let's see what they say. Okay. Ooh. Chose DX.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Their reasons, they said, all right, I'll choose DX. They are widely considered one of the most iconic and influential factions in wrestling history, led by legendary wrestlers such as Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Chyna. DX brought a rebellious and edgy attitude to the wrestling scene. They pushed the boundaries of what they considered acceptable in the industry, often engaging in controversial and provocative antics. D-Generation X's impact was not only felt in the ring, but it also is a popular culture as they became a symbol of the Attitude Era in professional wrestling. Their rebellious spirit, catchy catchphrases, and memorable moments have left a lasting legacy. If you're looking for a faction that embodies attitude, charisma, and willingness to break the rules, D-Generation X is the one to watch. I guess they end everything with the same sentences, but they said DX.
Okay.
Surprised. I thought they were going to go with NWO.
I thought so too.
Yeah. I was going to be like, damn, I'm going to lose this round, but it's been on my side a lot. I'm not messing around. They said DX.
No, yeah, actually, it's been pretty even because I had Blackpool. You had
I think I had an Undisputed Era. Oh, they showed the Elite. I think you chose the Elite.
Yeah. So it's been pretty split, I think.
Yeah, pretty split so far. Now, quarterfinals, semifinals.
Oh,
I think it is.
Baby.
The Hart Foundation taking on the Elite. J-Bone. Who is the better faction, in your opinion?
This is difficult. This is really difficult.
Two different generations of factions.
You have two different generations. And although the Elite have been around a lot longer, have different generations, I'm still going to go with the Hart Foundation. Again, if you think about what they did, where you had two countries battling over each other, and when the Hart Foundation, obviously when they go into Canada, they were baby faces. Coming to the United States, they were heels. Think of that match with the Canadian Stampede, some classic matches, the SummerSlam '97, where they're all involved with somebody, and just leading up to what helped build D-Generation X and that whole Attitude Era, I am going to go with Hard Foundation here.
I'm going to agree with you on that. I'm going with the Hard Foundation because if I was thinking about it, like if if I ask myself or anybody, like, does the Elite have the same impact as the Hard Foundation? Like in terms of, in maybe 10 years from now, people are gonna look back saying, "Hey, the Elite inspired me to wrestle." Yeah, people will say that. Of course, I'm not saying that people aren't going to say that, but like I think a lot more people have done it with the Hard Foundation than people with the Elite so far.
Yeah.
Um, and the Hart Foundation left that type of impact on the wrestling business. So again, with the generation, people in Canada, a lot of people look up to them in Canada to this day. Um, so yeah, the Hart Foundation, and echoing basically everything I said in the last two rounds, is what I'm going to continue with today for the Hart Foundation. So that's why I'm choosing them, and they are going to the finals. So we will see who is going up against the Hart Foundation. Is it the Bullet Club or D Generation X? J Bone. I'm gonna give up with you this time.
Even though I did not select them last round, I am going to go with DX here. And I just think because of what they brought to wrestling, change of wrestling overall, and Bullet Club, you could also argue, even though I feel like they're probably more influenced by the NWO, they're also influenced by DX as well too. Maybe just the same because they were doing crotch chops and stuff like that too. So
yeah.
Anyways, they were still influenced by them, and so for that reason, I am going to go D Generation X.
I agree with you. I'm also going to go with D Generation X here.
All right, good.
I mean, I don't have to say too much. You said all of it, and I feel like D Generation X was a popular tag team faction in general, even as a singles competitor. I feel like a lot of times the Bullet Club, the leader gets the upper hand of like having a great singles career afterwards, as opposed to everyone. I think the only people, you could say like Cody Rhodes, Hangman, obviously the Elite, everyone's come out of it, but like, you know, they joined as already top names of the wrestling. So, if someone joined who was not people not familiar with, it may take a little bit longer for them to get developed and into the wrestling scene. So, as opposed to D Generation X, yeah, Shawn Michaels is already a top performer. Same thing with Triple H, and with X Pac, the New Age Outlaws, if you include them too in it. They all had great runs before, after, during Bullet Club, so that gave me the slight edge for them. Now, the final two. It all comes down to this, J-Bone.
Oh, man.
We got the Hart Foundation taking on D Generation X. Who is the best faction?
This is tough.
Between these 16 participants of all
This is
time.
tough.
Who do you got, J-Bone?
So, I'm glad it ended up like this. This is pretty much how I envisioned, like, I was creating the bracket, basically how I thought that. Of course, I thought NWO would end up in the finals here. And so kind of thinking about who does what. I know D Generation X has influenced a lot more, like we talked about, and probably, overall has maybe a bigger impact. But I still can't go against the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, the Hart Foundation.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to have to say this. They already won anyways, but I'm going to go with the Hart Foundation.
Yes!
I was going to see, I wanted to choose DX to see what AI would say, but
let's do it. Let's see what AI does.
Let's do that. You know what? I want to say DX. I'm changing my answer. Let's see what AI.
Well, no, you can keep your answer if you want, but we could just see what AI says.
Let me see what they
whichever
say.
way you want to go. So let's just see what they say.
They also chose the Hart Foundation.
Yes.
So either way, they would have won. Hart Foundation. Again, I'm not even gonna get that much into it because I said everything I need to say in each and every one of these rounds. To this day, a lot of people look up to them, and so you can't just go against that. DX, I love them. Entertained by everything, but the Hart Foundation. Their history says it all. From then till now, still going on strong. So, yeah, the Hart Foundation is, to us, the greatest faction of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, J-Bone. Before we even end the episode, actually, let's plug in your stuff. Where can people find you and all of your content?
Easy way, head over to comingdowntheaislepod.com. New episodes drop every Monday, starting now every Monday. So kind of switching it up with the addition of Collision and SmackDown. I just want to be able to kind of cover that a little bit closer to the those days, and it's easier for time constraints. Also, check out everything with Pod Foundation, myself, Chick Foley, Extra Cooler, and Turnbuckle Tavern. And speaking of Turnbuckle Tavern, I'm also part of them too. Turnbuckle Tavern, where they go on and they do a whole host of shows. On the Raw Down, which is a WWE centric show. But there's all kind of other stuff that that you can kind of for if you're looking for nostalgia. They got Shot of Nostalgia, Impact, Breaks for Impact, Wrestling Tonight, where they kind of cover everything. Of course, the flagship show, which is AEW. They've got the Fig Night, which is if you're a figurehead, and also wrap up shows. So I got stuff on YouTube and audio. And then, like I said, myself, I drop new shows every Monday now. And also we do bonus shows of The List, myself and the Ultimate Miles. We drop a top 10. We do a top 10 matches or moments of a certain topic. What we got coming up soon is top 10 British Bulldog matches, like I mentioned earlier. So make sure you check that out as well too. And that's pretty much it.
Of course, yeah. So I'm gonna leave the Coming Down the Aisle link to the YouTube channel and Turnbuckle Tavern in the description of this YouTube video. So if y'all want to check them out, go check them out. Links, it will be in the description. Thank you again, J-Bone, for joining me. I know there was supposed to be 3 of us, but we glad to.
Hey, I think it worked out. Honestly, I think it really worked out for the best. I mean, I would love to. I never got the chance to talk to Joel in person. Just obviously see y'all's content, but make a lemonade out of lemons here. So I think I think this is how it's supposed to happen. I'm happy with the bracket.
Me too. And thank you to AI. I got to shout out to AI for helping us out with the tiebreakers. Once again, thank you all for listening. Go subscribe to the Ring Fanatics and follow us on all social media platforms, including our audio streaming platforms, where you can listen to the audio of this podcast. Once again, I am Nick, your host, and we'll see you guys next time. Catch ya.